Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in. Once again, to Queen Amadaya TV presents The Root of All Evil. Okay, hello, Nathalie, Felicia, Marilyn, Davida, Miss Natural Candy J. And let me go ahead. Okay, I was going to try to make you a mod, but it looks like I'm going to have to wait. Hello, Broken Silence, Regina, Sweet Pea. Thank you all for tuning in, my beloveds. Hello, Seven Scales, Regina, Marietta. Okay, so listen, let's go ahead and get into it, people. Tonight, I'm going to be talking about the Loomis Fargo heist, okay? The robbery that was conducted, I believe it was in 1997, when they got away with $17 million. Now, I want to talk about these bungling thieves, okay? Because that's clearly what they were. Hello, Brandon. Brandon says, I'm black in this biatch. Okay. Hello, Crystal and Judah Queen. Judah said, I love the countdown, Queen. Thank you, beloved. Thank you. Hello, Queen Trina, Katia, RH, Francine, Kendla. Oh, my goodness. So many of you popping up. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into it. Because this, as we know, people, all of these nefarious acts and egregious things that people engage in, this is all what people do for the love of money, right? The love of money is the root of all evil. Many people say that money is the root of all evil. No, it isn't the money. It is the love of it. Some people have to have it, and they'll do anything and stop at nothing to get their hands on it, including but not limited to committing felonious capers. Okay, so let's talk about it. The thieves who couldn't cope with $17 million. Let me tell you, after they pulled off this heist, they went out here, pulling up, just spending their Scrilla on all kinds of things, blinged out, swagged out with all the drip. Okay, went from living in trailer parks to mansions, no less. The friends of Steve and Michelle Chambers became suspicious soon after the news broke that an armored car company in nearby Charlotte had been relieved of $17 million. Now, here was the tip-off. 3 weeks after the October 1997 heist, the blue-collar couple moved from their rural mobile home to a $635,000 mansion. Oh, they was doing it and doing it well, or so they thought. It was swank. It had gated confines of Kramer Mountain, and it was in an exclusive community about 15 miles east of Charlotte. But this was only the beginning, people. You see, because they also bought themselves a BMW convertible, a $10,000 pool table, a Rolex watch, and a 3.5-carat diamond ring that was worth $43,000. Now, talk about doing the most. Now, they didn't stop there. Michelle made a beeline to a plastic surgeon for a set of breast implants, while Steve tossed out $900 on tips on a single night out. After the reckless spending spree, the couple's downfall was just a matter of time. 5 months to be exact. Now, they got away with it. Smooth got away with stealing $17 million, people. Yes, they did. That's one of the biggest robberies in United States history. As you know, I spoke about the other one with the Dunbar. That was probably the Dunbar heist. I think I talked about that like 2 weeks ago. That was the biggest one in U.S. history. These fools, it was less than 6 months before they got caught, and all to their foolishness and their spending so frivolously and just doing plain and simple too much. Okay? So they and 17 others were convicted and were awaiting sentences on an assortment of federal charges arising from the heist. On Saturday, the contents of the Chambers, that Saturday, on the contents of the Chambers' ill-gotten palace and equally frantic buys made by their accomplices were to be auctioned off by federal marshals. Now, let me tell you how they got caught, people. Not only were they out here buying all these lavish things, I mean, they spent here's the thing. When people aren't used to having money, if you got to do something like that, you got to live your same poor life. Yes, but this is the thing. Most people who are not used to having anything don't know what to do when they get something. That's why you see many NFL players, many NBA players. You see many people who are at the top sink to the bottom because they weren't used to it. And so they start doing foolish things. And this is what happens. Look what happened to MC Hammer when he had, like $27 million. So here's the thing. Here's what made it all come crumbling down. Not only were they spending and buying all these things that they didn't know what to do with. For example, they bought all of these thousands of dollars worth of cigars, fancy cigars, and they didn't even know how to care for them. They had the cigars just lying around the house and they went stale. They were even no good to smoke after you spent thousands of dollars on it. They bought a $40,000, I believe it was $40,000, an oil painting of Elvis. How tacky is that? Now, see, that's where you say you can take the person out of the trailer park, but you can't take the trailer park out of them, or take the person out of the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out of them. That's where these sayings come from, because clearly you can give them all this money and put them in mansions and give them the best of things, but they will still act like the same old, same old. Some people just don't know how to change. So that all being said, they acted like the Beverly Hillbillies, clearly. Uncle Jed loading up the truck and moving to Beverly is what you think it was. Now, they bought all of these expensive things, but not only did they do that, let me tell you what was one of the most ignorant things they did. One of them went to the bank with a briefcase, and I believe they had $200,000 in there, but they also had the wrappers that they put on the money in the bank. Yeah, they left those on. So they go in the bank, and they open up the briefcase and show the money, and they say to the teller, "Excuse me, miss, I robbed. How much of this money can I deposit without you calling the feds? Before you have to call the IRS." Say what now? Ma'am, you got a whole $250,000 in that there briefcase with the money band still on it. Oh, they had racks on racks. Okay, bands to make her dance is what they had, people. But let me continue. So anyway, the items included a velvet Elvis portrait. Listen to the stuff they bought. This is where it gets good. A velvet Elvis portrait, a Harley Davidson Road King motorcycle, all the big screen TVs and other vehicles, and the painting that hung in the Chambers' new foyer was a bulldog dressed as General George S. Patton, complete with riding crop. In the annals of bold, wacky, but almost successful crimes of crooks with dumb luck and dumber follow-through, the Loomis Fargo and Company heist will be long remembered among FBI agents and among residents who followed every unraveling detail, including myself, no less. This will never be forgotten. Now, besides being the second biggest bank robbery in U.S. history, it had an improbable cast of characters and a plot line that drew national attention and lots of disbelieving laughter. This is what they said, ever since the first arrest was made, it has taken on a type of folktale flavor. This is what the U.S. Deputy Marshal Steve Gladden said. He said, let's face it, you're moving from a trailer in a field in a remote county to the country club. It was very much the Beverly Hillbillies. Absolutely. Now, but there also was a sinister and even sad edge beneath the antics. During their 5 months as millionaires, the robbers grew even more paranoid and eventually turned on each other. Some of them plotted to kill another member of the gang. And in their desperate effort to stash the money, the Chamberses enlisted the aid of their working class parents and other former innocents to obtain safe deposit boxes. Started from the bottom. Now we here, okay? That was moving on up like the Jeffersons, no less. Oh. So anyway, they done got their poor families involved and people who had nothing to do with it. Now everybody's going down with a sinking ship. How sad. So anyway, not only did they plot to kill one of their own, because clearly they thought he was doing too much. And so they tried to get the safe deposit boxes by getting other innocent people, including their parents, involved. Now, those older people who never had been in any legal trouble, those people became convicted felons. And he goes on to say, I think this case can be summed up as how a sudden influx of cash really fails to change a person's true character. This is true. This is true. That was my point, people. And that's what Charlotte defense attorney Monroe Whitesides, who related the tale in one of the current editions of Charlotte magazines under the headline "White Trash Crime." That's what you called it. Not white trash crime. Okay? Now, when you get into a character study of this group, you see a lot of people who thought money would bring power and happiness. And all it did was put them at each other's throats. This is what Whitesides, age 39. Now, Whitesides, age 39, entered the picture in January of 1998 when he was contacted by a frightened client he identifies only as Ken, a printing company co-worker of Eric Payne of Belmont, North Carolina, who would later be convicted as one of the robbers. With Payne and Ken hung out often at the Chambers' new mansion, and they ended up as a crucial source for the FBI, aka confidential informants number 1 and number 2. Neither the FBI nor the U.S. Attorney's Office has much to say or had much to say about the case, citing the sentencing and the fact that the 2 final money laundering defendants would have to go to trial. Now, that left the Whitesides and licensed private investigator Steve Hartness, age 50 at the time, of Charlotte, who also was Ken's uncle, left them to provide the details. Little was revealed at trial because all the defendants but one pleaded guilty. In an interview that was conducted, Whitesides said the original title of his piece had been "A Ton of Cash," but it really was closer to a ton and a half, more than 2,700 pounds of green. The story began October the 4th of 1997, when Loomis Fargo's vault supervisor, David Scott Ghantt, used a stick to prop open the vault door to the company's depository. Returning later that night, Ghantt began loading the company van with cash and soon made his first mistake. But it wouldn't be his last. Although he removed the tapes from the 2 security cameras, he failed at first to realize that 16 others were recording his every move. Ghantt, then 29, was a tall, decorated Persian Gulf War veteran whom early newspaper reports likened to Huckleberry Finn. Just call me 20. Not Huckleberry Finn. Now, he had never been in trouble with the law, but in addition to a wife, he also had a girlfriend, Kelly Campbell, who had previously worked at Loomis Fargo, and Campbell knew a small-time hustler named Steve Chambers. Together with a pair of other accomplices, the 3 had put together the scheme. Later that night, Chambers and 2 partners worked feverishly in the nearby woods to unload the stacks of bills that Ghantt had piled into the Loomis Fargo van. They had to leave $3.3 million behind, according to court documents, because they had not brought enough 55-gallon barrels to store it in. Now, do you know they were crazy? You know they were crazy. Say what? How is a person likened to Huckleberry Finn? That's what they said. So while the others worked, Kelly Campbell drove Ghantt, who realized too late that he had been taped to Columbia, South Carolina to take a plane to Mexico, only to learn that the airport did not offer international flights. Campbell then deposited him on a bus for Atlanta and hurried back. Now, according to later news reports, Ghantt made it to Mexico and holed up in a resort hotel where he spent his time smoking cigarettes and eating M&Ms. Unaware of Gantt's flight, FBI agents who immediately began investigating the heist surmised that his disappearance might mean that he had been killed. The agents waited and watched as the big spenders sealed their doom. He added, because the FBI wanted to be sure it did not have a murder case on its hands before moving in. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, Chambers, age 31 at the time, was acting the part of the big boss and the biggest spender of them all. He says, here you've got some $10 gangster who suddenly rose to the position of the Godfather. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? You go from eating ramen noodles and to eating filet mignon and being called Don Corleone, no less. This is crazy. Chambers knew, he says, Chambers knew you go to jail when you run your mouth and you spend money all over the place. All I can figure is it was so intoxicating to them, they went insane. They just went nuts. Ken was a witness to many of the gang's more flamboyant exploits. He was along when Chambers hired a chauffeured limousine to ferry the group to dinner at the modest Western Steer in nearby Gastonia. So they took a limo just to go out to eat. Clearly doing the most. At Crickett's Lounge, Ken looked on as Michelle and Steve got into a fight about her suggestive dancing. When the bouncer threw Steve out, he boasted he would come back and buy the club. However, it was Michelle Chambers, then 26, and the mother of two small children, who reached new heights of indiscretion. A month after the robbery, she reportedly entered a Belmont bank with a suitcase stuffed with $200,000 in cash, I told you, and asked the bank manager, how much can I deposit without the bank reporting this transaction? I imagine that's how she talks, people. Oh, yes, doing way too much. Okay, so Whitesides says the manager, who noticed the money was still encased in Loomis Fargo wrappers, made an excuse to decline the deposit. At home, Ken reported Chambers stocked the wine cellar with Pabst Blue Ribbon beer. Now, this was also ghetto. They put what now? Instead of putting wine in the wine cellar, they stocked it with Pabst Blue Ribbon beer? Not Pabst Blue Ribbon, of all things. Now, although he had bought the house fully furnished, he added plenty of personal touches, like the elephant figurines. Oh, you can't leave the elephant figurines out. You got to have those, right? He had them scattered everywhere for good luck. $20,000 worth of Cuban cigars. That was completely ruined, as I told you, because he didn't even know how to take care of them. See, they need a humidifier. Okay, however, he did not realize he had to put water in his expensive new humidifier. He didn't know he had to put water in there, poor thing. Okay, now in January of 1998, about 3 months after the robbery, Chambers offered to pay Ken $150,000 if Ken would smuggle $2.5 million in cash to a bank account in the Cayman Islands. That is when Ken, who was concerned about potential legal problems and his own safety, notified his uncle, who contacted an attorney. The three met with the FBI. Ken was outfitted with $16,000 in digital recorders. Harness said and sent off to gather incriminating evidence. Okay, sorry, let me go back, people. Ken was outfitted with a $1,600 digital recorder, a harness, and he was sent to gather incriminating evidence. Now, by February, Chambers was packing a pistol and hiring a bodyguard. As March approached, it was clear that he decided that Ghantt said the man was too dangerous to live, and besides, he said, why continue to share the money with him? So now they're going to kill the man. They want to plot to kill him. First of all, they said he's too dangerous to live, and why should we allow the money to be shared with him? Now, Chambers discussed with his bodyguard, Mike McKinney, how best to smuggle a firearm in Mexico, according to court documents, and even booked McKinney a flight. Now, by this time, the FBI had a line on Gantt's whereabouts. This is what Harness said. He had tape recordings and a certain payphone that, according to their surveillance, Kelly Campbell often slipped away to use. Near dawn on March the 2nd, the big spree came to an end. Agents showed up at the Kramer Mountain Mansion to arrest the Chambers and Campbell. They went quietly. Ghantt showed up at the Kramer Mountain Mansion. Ghantt was arrested in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, seeming almost relieved that it was over. I know he was, because he was clearly looking over his back, because he knew they were going to try to kill him, because he knew too much. And then he also figured, since he was on the surveillance footage or whatever, he was the one that could bring them all down. So they were plotting to get rid of him, no less. So he seemed relieved that it was all over, according to reports. Now, other arrests soon followed, and the contents of the 9 safe deposit boxes were seized. And for his trouble, Whiteside says that Ken received a nice 6-figure reward. Much of the stolen money was reclaimed or accounted for, according to the FBI spokeswoman, Joanne Morley, except for about $2 million that still remains missing. And by that time, Whiteside's Riley noted, nobody was talking. Nobody was saying nothing. So they say this Velvet Elvis and Harley Davidson Road King are among the items purchased on the Chambers spending spree that faced auction. So all of that stuff was auctioned off, people. All of that stuff was auctioned off. Now, with that all being said, that was a article that happened right as it, or that was published right after it happened, and before they had even gone to trial or anything, right? So let me see if I can get this information about the trial. And they actually took $17.3 million in cash, most of which was $20 bills, by the way, just so you know. Okay? Ghantt was the prime suspect. And this is what happened during the arrest and trials and convictions. Now, after successfully tracing Gantt's phone call, FBI agents and Mexican police arrested him on March 1st of 1998 at Playa del Carmen, a city near Cancun. Now, the next day, Steve and Michelle Chambers, Kelly Campbell, and 4 others were arrested. 9 other relatives and friends were also charged with money laundering, as they had co-signed safe deposit boxes used to store some of the money. Prosecutors opted to charge them, items on the grounds that they had, or that they should have known that the money was obtained illegally, or on the similar grounds, 4 other people were ultimately also charged with money laundering. Because they're saying they should have known the money was stolen. They should have known they didn't earn this money. Now, all but one of the defendants pleaded guilty. They received sentences ranging from probation for several relatives of 11 years and 3 months in a federal prison, ranging from probation for several relatives to 11 years and 3 months in federal prison for Steve Chambers, who was also fined more than $3,500,000, and the only defendant to not plead guilty. Chambers' attorney, Jeff Collier, was found guilty of money laundering and sentenced to 8 years in prison. Even got the attorney locked up, people. Now, by comparison, Ghantt served 7 years in prison and was fined $26,000. He was released in 2006. Michelle Chambers received a harsher sentence than Ghantt, 7 years and 8 months, because she had violated several bond conditions. The defendants were the targets of many barbed jokes in Charlotte and across the country, in part because of their extravagant spending. Now, for a time, it was nicknamed the Hillbilly Heist, because nearly all of the major players in the case came from small towns around Charlotte. It was later confirmed by the FBI that more than 88% of the stolen cash had been located or otherwise accounted for, and more than $2 million still remains missing till this day. Till this day. Now, you know, they've made movies about it. They've talked about it on America's Most Wanted. The Discovery Channel's done a documentary on it. The FBI Files. They had the movie that I saw. It was made to be a comedy. It was called Masterminds. Okay? And it came out in September, I think September 29th of 2016. It was quite funny, people. But there you have it. That's the story of the Hillbilly Heist. You know, and that is a prime example of people doing too much, right? And how you can't take, or you can take the person out of the trailer park, but you can't take the trailer park out of it. All right. They should have called Sheep Talking Saul. $2 million still out. Come on, Royce, let's get our money. Okay. So with that all being said, I would like to thank you, lovely people, for all tuning back in. I hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget that I'm going to be live tomorrow at 11 on King BJ Johnson's channel, and also at 5 p.m. tomorrow on Lisa Cabrero's channel. We're going to talk about how my other YouTube channel, the Queen Shakur Show, how that got terminated. And we're going to talk about censorship and things like that. Okay? That's right. Melanated Brown says, better call Saul. Kendall says, hillbilly trash. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, beloved. Now, Judah Queen says, what's the link? Hold on just a moment. Just a moment. Let me pull it up. Everyone, please get the lights up. Please get the lights up before you all tune out. Okay. He's already got it set. Already got it set for us to go live. King BJ and Queen Shakur. Okay. Let me go ahead and put this in the chat. Queen, do you want to reschedule the Royals meeting? You know we can talk a long time. That is going to be, beloved, the meeting is going to be on Sunday, not Saturday. The meeting is going to be at 12 o'clock on Sunday, beloved. Thank you, Sweet Pea. Sweet Pea says, I'll be watching. Yes, the meeting is for the mods. That's going to be on Sunday at 12, okay? We're not going to stay long this time. We're going to stay maybe 30 minutes, okay? We're going to get in and out, all right? Sunday at 12 noon, I'm going to send you guys the links. I'm going to send you the links tomorrow, okay? Or tonight, but you'll get them in plenty of time. So that all being said, I thank you all for tuning back in. Nichelle says, yes, hilarious. Thanks, Queen. You're welcome, beloved. So I wish you all love, peace, and prosperity. Enjoy the rest of this lovely evening. And until next time, people, I will talk to you all again soon.